The question is, when you hear the word sun cycle, what comes to mind? Got one brother in the audience here. Go ahead, Zima.
Well, since you said earlier we're in the hereafter cycle, it seems
right.
like the sun cycle would be related. So maybe that's a cycle of rebirth or new things, something to do with life, perhaps.
You're on the right track. Hereafter. What do you know about the hereafter?
Well, I would think of hereafter as time after your physical body ceases to work properly.
Okay.
From then on.
So prior to the sun cycle, how is your body functioning?
Right now, I mean, we're essentially part of the earth, and so we function with the earth. We need what comes from it, and we have certain requirements, you know, as sort of biological machines, and we that stops happening when your heart stops beating, your brainwaves stop flowing. You know?
Okay, so because we in Wu-Sabat we teach that we have two sun cycles and two moon cycles. You may be familiar with the term the age of Aquarius. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes, famous book as well.
Yeah. Do you have any? Can you give us any information on? Do you have any information on the age of Aquarius?
I think people generally seem to describe it as some kind of dawning of new light, where there'll be
That's
greater
right.
understanding and sort of illumination take place.
That's right. When you say understanding, what do you mean by that?
Well,
Greater understanding?
I had a friend who was he preferred the word overstanding.
That's what I like to hear. Yes, sir. He's the right. You're ticking the right box at the moment, bro. Go ahead.
But if I'm going to say more and more, I guess maybe traditional sense, understanding, the idea would be that you have comprehension of what's being discussed in some way.
Okay. Anything else? So, you have comprehension. Does that mean that your consciousness is expanding?
If you mean consciousness expanding,
like as in the age of Aquarius.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe under those presuppositions, me personally, I'm not convinced of the idea of the reality of the age of Aquarius, but I try to understand what people are saying by it, but I don't know if I hold to that paradigm myself.
Gotcha.
So for me, conscious expanding is maybe a different set of inputs.
Okay, yeah. You're traveling in the right direction. Let me just say, you're traveling in the right direction, and we can expand on it a bit more. Hey, brother did his best, and he's on the right track. Anybody else on Zoom or Clubhouse? When you hear the word sun cycle, anything comes to mind?
Reboot. Reboot.
Rahubat. So, Jose?
Rahubat. What came into my mind is that if we talk about the sun, we're talking about the power. So the cycle, that for me, that would be like a reboot to take it back to its original function and to what's not been responding to the sun.
Okay, you want to elaborate a bit more?
So when we have power and when we have a power, a source, and the source is not actually reaching to it's not actually doing the function. So we have to reboot the power. We have to reboot the power to make sure that we get the right power that we need. So when we say there is no connection between the sun and the receiver. So because the receiver has been there's been so many things that has been distracting the receiver. So then we have to reboot and restart again, so that everything that's distracting the receiver to go back to the first state.
Right. You're on the right track. You're on the right track. You said that the sun is our source of power. Also take note that we too have an inner sun, which is called the what?
Solar plexus.
The planet Earth also has an inner sun. You know the name of that sun?
from my understanding, trying to get to understanding, I know that the Earth has a sun. Beneath, or I'm here to learn.
Okay, right. The inner, you're doing great. The inner sun is called Anun Ray. That's the inner sun at the core of the planet, Anun Ray. We will talk about that later on. So we have the inner sun, Anun Ray. We have our sun in the center of our solar plexus, and we have the sun Shamash outside or the center of this solar system. So we have to align those three suns together, have to gather them together, those three suns. Now, we said that when we say the sun cycle, that ties in to what the Greeks term the age of Aquarius. We term it the age of Ptah. Also the age of the phoenix or the Bennu. These are the terminologies that we use in Wu-Sabat. Now, when we say that, if they're coming in, does anybody know? There's a bit of mathematics here. Let me just, before I say that, when we say that we are in the sun cycle, what we are saying is it simply means that the universal forces or the forces of natural nature, which we call Pa Nazaru or Pa Nitiru, the overseers, are conspiring to our advancement. And when we say that, what that means is that our endeavors will be met with favorable outcomes. Okay. It doesn't mean do nothing, for that will produce nothing. It means that whatever we do will cause things into effect, with the forces being causes of causes to materialize. This is what is meant by the coming in of the sun cycle or the age of Aquarius. So this time now, the sun cycle or the age, they call it the age of Aquarius, let's call it the sun cycle. We have to, in Wu-Sabat, we are taught that, well, actually, this is taught by the ancients, because the Affirmation was actually taught in the temples of Dindira. But Dindira is an Arabic term, but you may hear of or heard of other terms such as Iunet or Tantiri. And Tantiri is no more than Ptah Lazur Reye. And this is where it was in these temples where the science of solar biology, as opposed to lunar astrology, or what they call, or they say astrology, was taught. We taught solar biology. Solar again pertains to the sun and its connection to the biological life forms on this planet. So we call it solar biology. Now, when I talk about mathematics, we have 12 signs in the Dindira star map as they have on the zodiac. We have 12 signs or 12 houses. And one complete revolution lasts 25,920 years. That means then that for each house, each of the 12 houses, it will take 2,160 years to pass from one house to the next. So 2,160 times 12 will give you 25,920 years to complete one revolution or 360 degrees. Correct? Mathematically calculate it. Okay.
Well, I'm just taking notes, so I can.
Okay.
I can't keep track of that.
Okay, right. So now, it's good to have these mathematical figures because we taught that we have two sun cycles and 2 moon cycles. Each which consists of 4 6,000 year cycles, which is 24,000 years. Sun, moon, sun, moon, sun, moon. 24,000 years. 4 times 6, 6,000, 24,000 years. Okay, so now we said that it takes 2,160 years to pass from one house of the Dendera or the zodiac, 2,160 years. Also, it also takes, so if you divide 360 by 12, you get 30 degrees, 360 degrees divided by 12, you get 30 degrees. So each house is 30 degrees. Now, it takes 72 years to pass 1 degree. So 72 times 30 will give you your 2,160 years per house. Correct?
Think so.
Plus or minus. Okay, you do your calculations, you see. Okay. So now, with the coming in of the sun cycle, the sun cycle, or the coming of the sun cycle, relates to a shift in consciousness of the minds of all on the planet. Because not only are we affected by the different constellations of the heavenly bodies or the celestial bodies, we're also affected by the other planetary bodies that's also within this solar system as well. Okay, so everything is interlinked, or everything is in alignment with everything. That's how the forces of nature has so constructed the cosmic forces. Now, we said that with the coming of the sun cycle, prior to this sun cycle, we had the moon cycle, or they call it the age of Pisces. And that was an age of belief, where people believed without any facts to corroborate their belief system. So now, we are now entering an era of spiritual awakening and transformation, or a shift in consciousness. Or, put another way, the sun cycle is the resurrection cycle, resurrecting the mentally dead back to being mentally alive. Okay. Any questions thus far before I continue? Oh, Brock's got a question here. Go ahead, Zamal. Go ahead.
When you say resurrection, how would that be defined? I usually understand resurrection like in a sense of like the resurrection of Jesus, where your body is renewed and glorified. Is it a different understanding, like a mental or a spiritual resurrection instead?
You're 100% right. When we say resurrection, we're talking about a mental resurrection, a spiritual resurrection, and a physical resurrection. When we say mental resurrection, we're talking about being resurrected from being mentally dead. You see? So, because wherever the mind goes, the body will follow. So a person could be mentally dead, but still walking around in a zombie-like state. That is the state people have been walking into for the last 6,000 years. You know what I mean? In a zombie state. Now, it's good that you mentioned about Jesus, etc., etc. The reason for that is because I was talking to a Christian today, and they stopped me, and I love it when they stop me. And I said to them that what Jesus came to teach, it's about 2,000 years ago, the people of his day and time were not ready for what he came to teach. So he said, it's in John chapter 14, he goes, howbeit, I will send another comforter. Now he says, I have many things to say unto you, but you're not ready for it. Howbeit, I will send another Comforter, and he shall be filled with the Holy Spirit, and he shall glorify my name and teach you of all things. That Comforter was none other than the Prophet Mustafa Muhammad al-Amin. But when you say that to Christians, they're not going to accept that. So I said to this sister who was talking to me, I said to her, when Jesus, according to the story, when he was about 3 years old, he was shipped to Egypt until he was about 13 years old. He had to go back to Judea for the census taking and for the bar mitzvah, etc., etc. So at 12, 13 years old, they said that he came from Egypt being wax wise, full of wisdom. Now, the question asked is, what was Jesus taught whilst in Egypt? When he came to teach his people, they weren't ready for what he had to teach. So he was obviously taught the Egyptian mystery systems, the highest of, hear this word, Affirmation. But they were not ready for that type of information. Just like the master teacher, he came in 1963, 1962, 1963, came giving us right knowledge of Wu-Sabat, or what we call sun cycle information, or sun cycle Affirmation. But he said that while he was teaching people about these sciences, the people around him at the time wanted to know about Abrahamism, Mosesism, Jesusism, and Mohammedism. So he said the thing, I will put these books away until the ripe time, R-I-P-E, comes. So he said the thing, I came giving you what you wanted to be spooked out, so that you will learn to eventually want. You will learn to eventually want what I have come to give. So he knew he had 30 years from the year 1970 until the year 2000 AD to give us religion. So he submerged us into religion because our minds was not calibrated. Use another word I just used earlier on. Our mind was not resurrected mentally, physically, spiritually to receive right knowledge, or Wu-Sabat, or Wu-Sabat, or sound right reasoning. Our minds was not ready to receive that. So what the master done, he had to walk us through the schools of isms and schisms, because of the day and time, also that was in, because of the cycle, the moon cycle was still in. The master also knew that religion had a 6,000-year expiration date, and that expiration date was up to the year 2000 AD. After 2000 AD, more correctly 2003 AD, got into another topic. From 2000 AD, he completed his mission. He goes, right. He goes, I knew you were ready because you asked the ultimate of question, which was, who is God? And when we asked him that question, he knew that we were ready to be taken to the next level of what he has really come to give, which is this sun cycle Affirmation. And he said a thing, and there's a tape he done called How to Prove the Existence of the Most High. I keep telling people to listen to this tape on YouTube. How to Prove the Existence of the Most High. And if you go into 37 minutes in, he says it really quickly, say about 30 seconds. The next level to divinity is that of a quantum existing being. Now, what that means is that, you have to go into 37 minutes in. Okay, so now that's what he says. The next level to divinity is that of a quantum existing being. What that means is that there was a point in time whereby you had spirituality, for lack of a better word, and you had science that didn't corroborate. However, with the advent of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, they're now finding that what the ancients knew 36,000 years ago is now being confirmed by the advent of quantum physics. Quantum physics is basically the scientific explanation of spirituality. And that's why in Wu-Sabat, the master says, it is our spiritual science and universal knowledge. So if a person has say they have that ascribe or subscribing to spirituality, it must be able to be backed up scientifically. If they cannot present that to you, then I think you should seek tuition elsewhere. But Wu-Sabat can be backed up scientifically. And like I said, with quantum physics, they are explaining the spiritual aspects of everything. Quantum physics basically means studying things below the atom or the subatomic realm, going deeper. Okay. So now, any questions before we continue? As we said last time, I know that sometimes we may say terminologies and words and concepts that are not familiar with the listening audience. However, the reason why we use these words, terminologies and concepts is so that we could raise ourselves up to that next level so we could absorb more. Okay. That's your reference points, fam. I'm reading from the Procession Chains 2012 AD. I don't know if I explained that already. It is a lot of information in here. The Procession Chains 2020. The cycles. Another scroll that goes into it. That one there. The cycles. Yeah, the cycles. Got that? Yeah, it's got Procession Chains. You also got the Lost Records of Time. Let me get all the scrolls that I recommend you all to read.
I got a couple.
Okay, Lost Records of Time. Another one there.
Okay.
That goes in depth.
Are we gonna read from this, or are you saying we already did?
No, if you haven't got this scroll, purchase this scroll. Yeah, these are scrolls I recommend people to purchase. Goes in depth. Emotional energy. Another scroll to purchase that goes in depth with this class title, plus more. Another one. Another one to read also that also helps to tie all in is this. I want to take more like a papyrus now. Look at it. Tones, frequencies, and vibration. Another one to read. And more as well. But the one I would say the granddaddy of them all is this one here. If you haven't got this one, read this one. The Sacred Wisdom of Tuhuti. Scroll up. Oh, hang on. I forgot. Because fam, when you start reading the scrolls, I really do recommend if you could get your head around the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti and related subjects, you will find that what the master is teaching us is quantum mechanics. That's what it's teaching us. Okay. And you find that there's an etheric cord that ties into all of the scrolls. Okay. And when we talk about, you said that the sun cycle represents the resurrection cycle, resurrecting the mentally dead back to being mentally alive. And the death of belief signifies the death of illusion and the birth of knowing, that we are the co-creators of our own reality. And when we say co-creators of our own reality, what we are saying is we have what's referred to as a collective consciousness, or they call it a Christ consciousness, or other words we use such as synchronicity or alignment collectively, or or synergy. These are different words really pertaining to the same thing. When our minds are all aligned together, then we will be able to co-create our own reality with the forces of nature. Because that is how we have been so engineered. So it's not like we are separate. This concept of being a separate individual was something that was taught to us during the moon cycle or the age of Pisces or the Piscean era. However, the shift has occurred. That shift is what the master also refers to as the dimensional shift is occurring. As we speak, we are moving into a higher dimensional frequency, a higher width band in this new sun cycle. And the moon cycle information has a more lower and narrower bandwidth, which is a hindrance to our liberation if we do not make the necessary adjustments. Okay? So when we say a wider bandwidth, or when we say higher vibrational frequency, what we mean is that we are expanding our consciousness or awareness or perception. We are expanding our ability to receive more information and making more neural connections by way of synapses so that we can absorb more light information, and that will transform us. Or we all heard the saying, knowledge is power, but we also continue to say, we add to that, knowledge is in an inert state until it's activated, and that activation will give the knowledge that we absorb the power, and that power will lead to transformation. Okay. With that being said, I just want to say something today. And I was out in the shops, out in the streets there in Croydon today, and the Christian stopped me. And she's talking to me, and she mentioned a word. She said about salvation, and so I said, "Well, what is salvation?" And she couldn't really explain the definition of salvation. Then I said, "Oh, what's liberation?" And she said to me, "Liberation, salvation." She said she's another word as well. Liberation, salvation. She's another word, and she also said transformation. Are all connected. I said to her, what you're saying is right, but it's in the wrong context, because she's saying that when you got liberation, salvation, she's now coming up what she's using that, because and you've got a transformation, that's when Jesus will come to you, etc., etc. And I said, well, you're saying the right things, but in the wrong context. All you need to do is do a 1 degree shift in the right direction, and all that was what she's saying will line up. But she couldn't get it. She said, I've got to make a move, etc., etc. So all it takes is that 1 degree shift in the right direction, and the doors will open up. Okay. I don't want to continue go on. Any questions thus far? Zoom, Clubhouse? Go ahead.
So, are you saying that this is the kind of affirmation that Jesus learned from Egypt and then tried to teach people in his day, but since they weren't ready, it didn't work out? The affirmation is now taught again by the master teacher and his students who are ready, because the moon cycle is almost at an end, and now we're going to experience a sun cycle.
Yes.
Am I following?
That's right, 100% right, 100% right. Yeah, 100% right. Correct. Yes. So to put another way, Jesus was born out of due time. He was born before his time. They weren't ready for that. So right now, all we need to do is open our minds and we begin to raise up. Now, that is those in, what words I use? Those in power. Now, let me put it this way. The way how this system, this planet, has been so structured or constructed, this construct that we are living under, not over, we are under this construct, is archaic, meaning it's out, that's it, outdated. We are being taught moon cycle information to keep you in formation, to keep you mentally dead. And this is from kindergarten right up to university. Because the person might have a degree, be just as dumb before they went in. That is moon cycle information. Keep you in formation. They call it quickly information. That's how they drop it. They keep you in a understanding as opposed to overstanding. Understanding, you're standing, looking up. Affirmation is you're standing, looking down. Because you now have an overstanding of what you've been taught. And what you've been taught in this sun cycle is geared or engineered to elevate your mind. This is globally. That's the difference between affirmation and information. The difference between sun cycle knowledge and moon cycle knowledge. There's a difference, you see. Those who do know, but in their secret societies, they know this affirmation because they study the Egyptian mystery systems.
You mean like the Masons? Is that what you're referring to? Or do you mean like
Yeah, with the Masons as well.
you said secret societies like what?
Yeah, you've got secret societies like
Ali or something?
yeah, you've got like the Thule Society. Oh, that's going back in it to hit this time. Madame Blavatsky, Knights Templar.
Okay.
I don't know all the names, but in their societies, or you might have other in their societies, they study the Egyptian mystery system. They study the sacred wisdom of Tahuti, but they don't call it the sacred wisdom of Tahuti. They call it the Kabbalion. Have you ever heard that term? The Kabbalion.
For the Kabbalah.
Well, they call it the Kabbalion, or they call it the Hermetic principles. I don't know if you heard that. Right, yeah. The Hermetic principles, the Kabbalion stuff, these are all coming from the Egyptian mystery systems. They study that in depth. They go to Egypt, they go in tombs and certain temples, etc., that the average layperson won't go. They got their laboratories, etc. They study, they look at the hieroglyphs, but the one thing they don't have, the master key.
Which is
What the master is teaching us.
the
master key.
That's what unlocks it.
That's right. Unlocks what though? When the key, what's the key do? Because you said unlock. What does the key do? Unlock what?
Goes into something, unlocks the door, so now you have access into those rooms.
Right, 100%. This lock, because you're ticking the right boxes. This lock that unlocks the door, is it a physical door or is it a mental door?
Well, I think it's an analogy that you're using for like not a physical door, some other type, like a mental or spiritual.
Right, that's right. You're ticking the right boxes. So now, once you start unlock the doors, what happens? The master teacher calls it a genetic DNA explosion. That's the term we use. An awakening. So now, as you're walking, you're awakening, you're unlocking the doors. The portals are within you. And as you hear this right knowledge, you're using that master key, a door unlocks. You've now shifted a degree. Remember, the door unlocks. You open the door because the key don't open the door. You do it. A key just locks or unlocks the door. So you unlock the door. You open it. You walk through. This is mentally, spiritually, and physically. Because where there is mental transformation, there's also mental transformation results in physical action. Because wherever the mind goes, the body will follow.
When Jesus said in John 10, he said, I am the door. Was that correct? But it's just the timing was still wrong. And so the master teacher became the door instead, or?
Yeah, I mean, do you know the quote? Jesus said, I'm the door.
Yeah.
See, go ahead. Roy wants to come up to speak. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to take up.
Doesn't matter. Keep going. It's what we're here for you, about.
I didn't get that.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so John chapter 10, I believe it was. Make sure.
I was just trying to find the quote for him.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, truly, wait, is this, oh, sorry. Truly, I say to you, it's John 10:1. He who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. Jesus said again to them, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. Last verse is this. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly.
Right, yeah. Meaning that, so he was the door, meaning he knew the way. He knew what we call patara, the way. He knew the way to lead his flock. Okay. Just as today, if the master teacher, we call him Pa Mun Zur, means the warner for this day and time. That's why he says, come and feed my flock. Teach, read, teach, because this is salvation affirmation. So going back, and I said that a woman stopped me out on the street, is that, and I said to her, liberation and salvation. Liberation is being free from those opposing forces of whatever they may be. That's liberation. Being free from opposing forces. Freeing the people mentally, physically, spiritually from those opposing forces. Salvation is keeping those opposing forces away once a people have been liberated. Okay, so liberation precedes salvation. Okay. I just want to quickly read. We got here. The true moon cycle 13 months ago gives us our true solar cycle. Say no to horoscopes, yes to telescopes. God is good for us. Ancient Egyptian truth. Jesus, the J sons, he's us. A representation of the light that we can obtain by going within and following our own soul. He is one example, light of many true lights like you. All right, yeah. Right. Goddess Keturah says, a representation of the light that we can obtain by going within. That light, that light is actually the black light. The black light, rather than being blinded by the white light of spiritual ignorance that we was taught during the moon cycle. Now we're in the sun cycle. When we say the sun, you think it's that sun out in the sky that blinds. No, the sun we are referencing is that black sun. Because if you did a research, you find that the sun is black. But if you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, he says the sun is yellow or white or something like that. The sun is black, it's invisible. But remember we said there are three suns. The first sun is outside within the solar system. The sun is inside, which is where? Where's the sun? It's the other sun. You said earlier on. Come, brothers, you're not using this. No, where's the sun? Where's the sun? Your own person. Where's your own personal sun? What's it called?
Solar plexus.
Exactly. The word solar, but does that pertain to sun? And where's the third sun? Yeah. Okay, so there's three suns, and all three suns meant to align up. Right. So I don't really know what the sister right here, Goddess Katora and Clubhouse, a representation of the light that we can obtain by going within. Because the journey is inside out and outside in. It's a spiral that we're making. A representation of the light that we can obtain by going within introspection and following our own soul. When you hear the word soul, S-O-U-L, we also hear a word S-O-L, which is the Latin word for sun, okay? He is one example, light of many lights, many true lights like you. It's very good he said that, Samaltat, because the master said many years ago, he said, you are the light and you have the power over all things. The light is the black light and you have the power over all things. The reason why we have the power over all things, the operative word the master used is all. But at that time, we didn't have an understanding what he meant by that. What he meant is that we are part of the all as all. So the same power, let's say that this is our body, and we dip this bottle into the ocean of Pa'ut. What fills this bottle of is Pa'ut? What fills or the ingredients that's in this bottle is the same ingredients that's in that ocean of Pa'ut. So all the power that's in there is in here. We call it 9 ether beings. Or we say 9 to the 9th power of 9. So we say 9 ether is all existing chemicals, gases, formulas, elements of natural nature, of which we are composed of. So what makes us, if you go to a religious person, any different than God? That, and again, the sister said to me, I said, well, according to the Bible, Jesus said, is it not written your Lord? I said, yeah, gods. I said, didn't in Exodus 7:1 that the Lord said, I'll make Moses a god unto Pharaoh? But you didn't create, but we are co-creators. So when they say, you never created yourself, because no, I never created myself, but my parents are my creators, personal creators with the help of the forces of nature, making the forces of nature our impersonal creators and our parents our personal creators. That means then that within each and every one of us, feminines and masculines, we have creative abilities and capabilities within us. So when it's any different than Pa'ut, all we need to do is know that mentally, physically, and spiritually, that we can make that alignment with the forces. That's why we need sun cycle affirmation and not information. Okay. Any questions thus far, fam?
Jamal, Terry Jamal has his hand up.
Go ahead, Terry Jamal. Mashat to Terry.
Hey, Rahubat, can I be heard?
And it can be heard, Jamal. Rahubat.
Rahubat. Yeah, so I was looking at it as the sun being the source of energy. Yeah, so like first I wanted to maybe you can touch on the relationship between the sun rays and the melanin.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then the other part is also like maybe just a follow-up on that one. So the sunlight which our bodies absorb, like is it transformed into some sort of a spiritual energy or spiritual light, which activates our inner solar plexus, or what's the correlation there?
Right. You said something very, very, you said something very correct. You're very correct. It's our melanin that gives us that intimate connection to the sun, because like we're here in the West, we're not getting sufficient rays of the sun to stimulate our melanin or stimulate the centers of our brain, because that is what ignites not just our brain or the neurons, but also ignites our solar plex. So we do not, and also ignites our, we need the sun for everything about for our being. We need the sun because we have what's referred to as sun heat genes. And our sun heat genes is ignited by way of the sun. The master put it like this: we have what's referred to as a solar plex, and others have what's referred to as a lunar plex. Meaning that, let's say our pilot is at gas mark 9, other races, they're of a lower gas mark 8, gas mark 7, gas mark 6, gas mark 5, in some cases, no gas mark at all. Gas mark 0. So so the connection, you're 100% right, Samuel. There is a correlation, a direct correlation to the sun, our melanin, and our solar plex, and everything that our physical structure is composed of. That's why we are for the people of the sun. Okay. You say something else? There might be another point you wanted to raise.
I just wanted clarity on that one, and thank you, sir. You have done it.
So you're welcome, Samuel. Okay, anyone, we said that anybody in the listening audience want to say anything? Not yet? Okay, not yet, yeah. Anybody else on the clubhouse? Right, I just want to continue reading. We said that in this new sun cycle, that our bandwidth frequency is getting higher and wider in this new sun cycle, and that the moon cycle information has a more lower and narrower bandwidth and narrower bandwidth. This is a hindrance to our liberation if we don't make the necessary adjustments. The question here is higher frequencies or lower frequencies, which is better? The higher frequency, before I continue, as a question that we put to the listening audience, higher frequencies or lower frequencies, which is better or conducive? Go ahead.
Higher.
Higher. Can you got that's half a part.
Higher, I think, depending.
Go ahead.
Higher depending on what the purpose is. Like the music, if you want bass, then you need lower frequencies. So it depends kind of what the purpose is. Or there's sometimes really lower frequencies are needed, like when you want to have bass sound,
Okay.
in music, for example, the 808s are real. See.
Yeah. What about in terms of consciousness?
Well, the way people describe it is they talk about higher would be better.
That's right. Because in this context, what you we say higher frequency, that's what you mean in terms of consciousness. Okay. When if a person has a higher frequency, what does that allow the individual? They are operating on a higher frequency. What does that allow the individual to?
Under what I hear you saying, it would be to receive and perhaps transmit more affirmation.
I'm glad you said receive and transmit. So that individual who is operating on a higher frequency, they are a better transceiver than a person who has a lower frequency. Correct. You're ticking all the right boxes there, bro. Well done. Okay. Higher frequencies allow for faster data transfer and higher capacity, meaning that the people now are able to absorb more information, and as they are absorbing more information, they are transforming. I remember last class we talked about mental alchemy. And we said that mental alchemy is a process of transfiguration, transmutation, and transformation. And transfiguration, we're talking about having the ability to quickly see if I find that gives you the full definition of that transfiguration and transformation. Don't give you a wrong knowledge. I'll quickly find it here. Right, here we go. We use the word just it, transformation, transmutation, and transfiguration. Okay, we said here, this is from last class. I just quickly say here that all these classes are constructed in such a way to let you know that each class links into another class. Each class is interlinked, and we're doing this for a reason. And I couldn't read excerpts from last class, and this is mental alchemy. I said last class was called mental alchemy, reverse engineering our minds. And he said we need to reverse engineer our thoughts, thinking, and mind before we can reverse or correct or restructure our lives. Okay, we need to reverse engineer our thoughts, thinking, and mind before we can reverse or correct or restructure our lives. If we do not, and that science, we call it mental alchemy. If we do not reverse engineer our minds, how can we subsist within this sun cycle? Or how can we make the shift, that dimensional shift? Because people will be vibrating on a higher frequency, on a higher dimension, and be operating differently than somebody who's still in a moon cycle mindset. Those amongst us who have elevated their minds are now able to move into the fourth dimension extended. And they're the ones who will have the power, ability, and capability to transform themselves or turn themselves into crafts, go away for a million years, come back and seem like a minute to just another individual. And you have two guys walking side by side. You don't know that your co-worker is a deity in human form, and but hear this though, each one teach one. And the thing is that when we have right knowledge, it is our obligation. We are obligated to teach right knowledge to any and everyone who has a listening ear. It is our obligation to do that. This is the ninth gate of deityship, when we put on the mask of God and realize that we have a responsibility to respond, meaning that we take responsibility for that which is around us. Remember, in the Islamic days, they said that Allah created Adam to be, the word they use in Arabic is Khalifa fil Ard, to be a successor on the planet. That is if we're talking about us in the garden now, he's not talking about the Adamite species, but as we know now. But what he's saying is that when the garden Negroids were created, we were to be caretakers of this planet and be responsible for what occurs on this planet. When we have the mask of God on, take on that responsibility. Okay, so we need to reverse engineer our thoughts, thinking, and mind before we can reverse or correct or restructure our lives. In order for us to do this, we need to have the know-how or the knowledge. However, it is said that knowledge is power. However, without application, knowledge is just knowledge in a state of inertia. Activation of knowledge received is where the power comes from. And that activation leads to transformation. And that transformation is transforming from mortal into God, possessing a God mind. Transmutation now, that's transformation. Transmutation now is of mind and mental into physicality, achieving miracle-like results to the onlooker. This is what Nababu, the masters, refer to as mental alchemy. mental transmutation. Okay. And transfiguration is having the ability to change your form physically, depending on the environment that you're in or that you may need to go to. The Holy Tablets, chapter 6, tablet 15, the master talks about that, whereby you restructuring may need to take place, or reconfiguration of your blood, what's it called, the veins, the whole internal body will need to be will need to be reconfigured in order to move in different environments of the planet. Okay, but in order for that to happen, you need the barotheric gland. So it'd be up there, wouldn't it? The barotheric gland be under there. Okay.
What was the last thing you said? You need the what?
The barotheric gland. Oh, you never had that before.
Okay. You know what?
Yeah, the barotheric gland was a gland we had that was in the hippocampus region of the brain. And that gland is what gave us random access to the divine. It's, we have the so-called 5 senses: see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. We also have 4 other senses: mental telepathy, clairvoyance, intuition, and psychometry. There are like 4 higher senses of many other senses. These are just 4 the master mentioned. However, in order for you to transform, you need that gland. You need that gland to be activated, which is done by higher beings. Okay, they activate that gland. Obviously, what they will do is they cannot give you full activation. It's something that's done intravenously. It does, a person will self-combust because the outformation be too much. Yeah. So it's something that will be done intravenously. So that gland will give you access to move interdimensionally. Okay. The thing about this now, we do it anyway. When do we do it? When we go to sleep. Because when we go to sleep and we're dreaming, we are in other dimensions. We are seeing our relatives who've crossed over. We're no longer subjected to the time frame on this planet. So it's something that we do unconsciously. But what we do is we go to these different gurus, whatever, to learn how to do it consciously, and they won't give you. We go on YouTube how to activate your pineal gland or whatever, but not even realizing that we need to activate the lower chakra gland first, because the energy rises from the bottom upward. See, so we can read that later on. Okay. Any questions?
While you have a hand up, Jose's had his hand up for a while on Zoom.
Go ahead, Jose.
Rahubat Zamal, thanks again.
You're welcome, Zamal.
Zamal, I was listening attentively to the class, and I don't know if you have there the actual fact 17, emotional energy, that connects to when you were speaking about the doors, or Jesus being the door or the key, the master. It took me to this scroll specifically because it mentions something related. I wanted to make a bridge to what you're explaining regarding knowledge and what the actual fact emotional energy also says. So we can go to 71, between 71 to 73.
These are verses.
Yes.
Go ahead, I've got it here.
Okay, I can read it?
Yeah, go ahead. You read it, please.
Okay, because afterwards I'll request you also to interpret one of the diagrams, actually 2, but I'll read it. 71. These intelligent 9 ether soul forces, beings, Ethereans, exist on all 9 abodes, and the bodies of the persons who function on any given abode are composed of atoms of the respective nutational rate. 72. So they can be saved, redeemed, claimed by one with beings. I repeat, 72. So they can be saved, redeemed, claimed by one with beings in upper and lower worlds or abodes. This being is Panasdir, Amnub, Reke, Pta, for you. So this being that is referred here on this verse 72, who is this being, or who is this being? Is this being he as well another door for consciousness upliftment?
Yeah, good question. This is a master teacher.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize the name. Okay,
Yeah.
now
Can you start again, Samal? But can you read from 69, page from verse 69? Read.
yes.
Can you read from verse 69
Okay, 69.
up to 76? Up to 76, please.
69 up to?
Up to, let's have a look. 76, please. No, yeah. 69 to 76, please. Go ahead.
Correct, okay. 69. However, certain Sakumat powers inherent in your mind can be provide the means hereby the upper forces of Ku of a soul will pull you back above the chanting and prayer and devotion to that which is the right to do.
Please stop there. Stop there a minute. You're reading too fast. Right. So what Baba is saying here is that we have innate powers within inside of us, Sakuma. And we have what we call Hu, the oversoul. And by chanting and prayer and doing that which is right,
to do.
Our minds will start to elevate. And these forces will kick in to help in that elevation. Continue. Number 70, please.
70. And may even be seen, felt, experienced.
Stop there. So now, so what's happened here is that we are now in synchronicity or alignment with these higher forces, and these high forces are in alignment with ourselves. Go ahead,
Right.
Samuel.
71. These intelligent nine-ether soul forces, beings, Ethereans, exist on all 9 abodes, and these bodies of the persons who function on any given abode are composed of atoms of the respective nutational rate.
Stop there. So now, as he says here, these intelligent 9 ether soul forces, beings, Ethereans. So that you know, they are, the correct term would be outintelligent, higher beings. Okay, and these forces are intelligence that also connect to our body or intellect. Go ahead. And when you say who function on any given abode are composed of atoms of that respective nutational rate. So even beings, even there are states of, or those states of existences that are outside of the physical, they too have atoms, electrons or protons, etc., but on a faster rate. Go ahead.
And this nutational rate is increased by chanting, prayer, devotion, and doing the right things, correct?
Correct. Yeah. The reason why the nutational rate is increased, it wouldn't increase on the physical because the nutational rate on the physical plane is fixed. But when you start to vibrate or interact on higher abodes, the nutational rate of those abodes are different. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, 72.
Go ahead.
So they can be saved, redeemed, claimed by one of these beings in the upper and lower worlds or abodes. This being is Panasdir, Amnub, Reke, Pta for you.
It's the master teacher. Go ahead.
Okay. 73. He Panasdir, Amnub, Reke, Pta is an Asdir in person, an incarnation into flesh to save you, to raise your vibration rates higher.
Stop there, Samuel. What's he incarnated to do? and incarnation in flesh to do what? You just read it.
The flesh to save you,
What else?
to raise your vibration rates higher.
That's right, yeah. There's certain words, we got to stop and say, oh, okay, then rather than quickly skip it by. Go ahead, continue.
74. He can function on any abode. This is what these 6 etheric beings have been told by their lower forces of Wicca, and why they have imprisoned him in such a high level to keep him from touching you, and in so doing active your higher senses.
Okay. So don't think that we're the only ones here in Wu-Sabat who knows about the master teacher. They know of him as well. And this goes back, remember, like you said earlier on, they study the Egyptian mystery systems, and they study ancient writings going back of those Sabians and those the Sufis, etc., who read those manuscripts. He's just using here those lower forces of Wicca. They know of the master teacher. They knew that someone of his stature would come. They said, "This is him. This is the one that we want. Let's keep him away from touching these people and activate their higher senses." But hear this now. They plan a plan, and the Riskians plan a plan, and we all know who are the best of planners. No, what the master just said. You don't even realize that I am doing, I use this word like this, mental alchemy on you all. Without you, I use that word, for intents and purposes. I am transforming you all without you even realizing it by the mere words that are written. Let's use that word, mere words, but by the words pa madata, by the words written in these scrolls. Because in actuality, when people use the word medu netro, they use the word medu netro, we say pa madat empa nadaru, pa madat empa nadaru, the words of the overseers. People tend to only relate that to the hieroglyphs, past or forth. This is what do you call it? What is just now? The hieroglyphs, the same Medonetra. This is, I couldn't get the words out. What the scrolls that the master teacher's given us is alive. It's alive, and by us reading it, we are transforming ourselves. You know what I mean? Okay, we are beginning to activate our higher senses. Go ahead, Samuel. 75, please.
75. Nuapian or Nuabians, a being such as this one, a being living on all these abodes at once, enjoys the inherent mental ability to naturally discern all the abodes which are the lower nutational rate, then the abode on which he happens to incarnate in person in order to function.
So he can transcend all the abodes, come down to this abode, do what he has to do, and at the same time go into the higher abodes and do what he has to do. And the word here is all the abodes. Go ahead.
76. Every mortal alive today consists of many beings or forces of ether from this material abode. Is just one of the known 7 abodes. So you start, and then it comes a diagram on which also I would request your interpretation on 2 of these diagrams. If you have the book there, you have the book there?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So what Master's saying here is that we too have those abilities and abilities to function on these other abodes. Scientifically, they call it quantum entanglement. Okay, or quantum entanglement means where all is interconnected, Another term they use is superposition. Superposition is whereby you can function on all the modes. That's the term they use. Those who study quantum physics, these are the two terms they use. Quantum entanglement, where everything is entangled or connected, and superposition is where you are everywhere in multiple locations until it becomes observed. You become one in one position. So that's the term they use. So they know this information. Go ahead, Smo.
Okay. I guess I finished as you requested 76.
Turn over the other page and continue in this last section here of 76, about the physical, etc.
Okay. Jump. 1, about of physical. 2, about of life. 3, about of spirit. 4, about of mental. So in fact, you all consist in 4 bodies. In one, and each subdivides into lower states of existence. As your physical body consists in different kinds of matter, your water of liquids subdivide in many. Your flesh, tissue, teeth, your bones, each of our cells, yet each vibrates at different rates of material for hardness. So also it is with life, it subdivides by all that keeps you alive.
Well done. As it happens, I was about to read this particular excerpt, but you read it for me, so I don't need to read it anymore. Well done, somehow. Yeah. Hope everybody got that.
Good.
Do you know?
Just what, Zamal, before you take the book away, just
okay.
one more question here. This being that is referred on the verse 84, Pa Tainiki or Pa Tamu.
Yeah.
Which being is this?
Oh, it's got it.
I can read. Oh, it's 84.
It's not from 84. Go ahead.
You must understand that Pa Tainiki, Pa Tama, who only hates you because he knows these facts. Which being is this?
Continue reading. You can tell you in a minute.
5. Translating full spectrum light into your being by nature, Nasdirt, and the Pa Tainikim, Taininki, Coccozoids cannot.
So, do you know who they are now?
86.
No. Did you know the part Tanim Hay? Do you know who they are?
The Caucasians.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just
Okay.
read down. You got it. Okay.
Okay. So I
And-
guess it's clear. It's clear. If because they're famous on the scroll, so it's clear.
Fantastic. Now I just want to read 85 again, just so you get a better understanding of what's been read.
Okay, 85.
Yeah.
Translating full spectrum light into your being by nature, Nasdirt, and the Pa Tainim Ki, Coccozoids cannot. Yeah,
Right.
it's clear.
Do you know what full spectral light is?
No.
No, we said it earlier on today. Melanin.
Darkness.
Yeah. Full spectral light is melanin, the physical manifestation. Melanin is the physical manifestation of full spectrum light. And full spectral light is blackness or triple state blackness. Yeah. Okay. So we all learned something there just now. Is that it, Zamel?
Yes, man. There's diagram 4 and 5 on the book that I would love to have explanation on it. If you can, please explain what they mean, because the getaway on etheric in the brain and the effort mind.
What page is that on?
17.
Page 17. Hang on. Oh, okay. Let's have a look now.
I would love to understand or understand this these two diagrams,
Right.
4 and 5, which is
All right. Yeah. Diagram 4 or 5, those that haven't got the book, you've got two circles, left and right. The circle on the right is a circle, and you've got a smaller circle in the center. At the bottom, so you've got a circle, a small circle in the center. In the center, it's got DMT, dimethyltryptophan. At the top, it's got serotonin. At the bottom, it's got melatonin, and the effect it has on the mind. What he's saying is melatonin. The reason why it's got the bottom half of the circle is in black, because melatonin is activated during the nighttime cycle. When you're sleeping is when melatonin production occurs. In the daytime now is where serotonin production occurs. Okay. Then on the left hand side, this is the effect that melatonin and serotonin has on the mind or the mental. On the left hand, you have another circle. Then you have a smaller circle in the center, and in the center is written here pineal gland. At the top, serotonin. At the bottom, melatonin. And the effect that melatonin, which is night, serotonin, this is day, the effect that these have on the pineal gland in the brain. Then he's got the gateway. He's got hydrogen, H2. Then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's on the right. On the left, he's got the etheric, E1, 7, 6, 5, 4, and the gateway. So where hydrogen, hydrogen, the etheric counterpart to hydrogen will be referred to as E1. So everything that is physical has an etheric counterpart. And what affects the mind also affects the brain. So he's got here DMT. Let's see if he's gave you a breakdown
What
on.
DMT stands for again?
I think it's dimethyltryptophan, DMT. Dimethyltryptophan, yeah. This is I think it's I can't exactly. I think it's produced by. I'm not sure. I don't want to say I think, but you can. It could be from the pineal gland, but you need to do some investigation on that. That's what DMT stands for. And again, it's activated by the melatonin and the effect that it has on the mind, and in the brain, melatonin and serotonin has an effect on the pineal gland. Okay. I don't think he's got any. Let me see if he's got a breakdown on that. I don't see it on this particular scroll here.
And what is mentioned as a gateway? It's a moment of transition from one consciousness level to another.
Yeah, in order for you to make that, in order for you to, I don't use the word, in order for you to enter the higher bolt or the gateway or the portal, this needs to be activated.
Okay, practically speaking, that will be the transition from one chakra to another.
That's right. When they're on the full activation. That's right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
If you go to the back of the book, it's got a diagram. The back of the book, page 20, he's written a diagram here.
Yes, the diagram 5. This is one of the things that I needed explanation as well.
This shows the distant audience. Can you see the picture? Can everybody see that? What I will try to describe. This is from the scroll, artifact number 17, emotional energy. And if you go to the back of the book, Here's another diagram. Another diagram here that we must also written as well. Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'll
what?
try.
Yeah. So, so if you read in the document, this is page 20. I've written it here. It's got a physical. You've got the plane of force, spiritual plane, and the mental plane. And it's showing you here. It's got ether. How they are how they're all connected by way of ether. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
You can see that how the connection between all of them, how the connection between the physical plane and the plane of force is ether, and the plane of force, the spiritual plane is ether, and the spiritual plane, the mental plane is ether. So ether, we know, is intelligent. Intelligent is an intelligent force that connects all these
Of
physical.
different boards.
Yeah, ether force. Yeah. Okay. And on the right hand side, where he's got that triangle there, he's got at the bottom gate, another triangle at the top, he's got gate, and he's got the same thing, physical, he's got plane of force, and the mental, and he's got the spiritual with the vital energy force, material with the solar, and he's got the mental, and two gateways to the physical and gateway to the mental, or the gateway to the higher abodes and gateway to the lower physical abodes. Okay. I think one of the scrolls.
Okay. Have to going back to class now after this explanation on the diagrams, and appreciate a lot of the explanation. So this diagrams, what according to what you were explaining about the key and the door represented as Jesus and Baba Yanun.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
These diagrams represent what exactly? They represent the key lock, how the alchemy behind the key lock in order to unlock the door.
Yeah, the master. The master. Is it master? Yeah, the master. What the master has given us is the master keys to unlock these doors. First thing we need to do is come to that realization or consciousness or awareness of what he has written. Because we could read something and it's just words. But once we start to apply what we have learned, we start to open keys. We then have to use those keys. Remember, these are symbolic terminologies. We use those keys to unlock doors that's within our minds. As the door unlocks, we open the door and we walk through. And we said earlier on that when a door unlocks, it's with what we refer to as a genetic explosion, a DNA explosion, and awakening to take us to the next level. We keep on moving. We have another key. We come to another portal or another door, figuratively speaking. We unlock the doors and we are now raised up to another higher level of consciousness. And we keep on till we reach, there's a point we reach whereby all we have to do is think it, and the higher forces will start to work with, through, and by us. And the doors will start to unlock. And as they unlock, we open the doors and we keep on walking through. Until, here it is. We don't even need to see the master in physical, because he would incarnate in etheric form and take us to the next level. However, we do need the master physically so that he can take us to the next level. Oh, it's kind of quiet now, isn't it? That was pretty. Yeah. So yeah, again, going back to the class title, the sun cycle, the death of belief and the birth of knowing. As you said earlier on, the forces of nature, the forces of natural nature are conspiring to our advancement in this sun cycle. That's why the master's predecessors, the master said it like this: they came to lay the seeds. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Noble Joely, Pedro Campos, different leaders, masculine and feminine, within the diaspora, as they say, came to implant certain seeds in our minds. However, they weren't equipped with the necessary weapons or tools, we should say, to take us to the next level. That's the master's job, to take us to the next level. The reason I do this is that it's mental. The transition is mental first, then it's physical. Because wherever the mind goes, the body will follow. So what should the transition is like this, is that once we elevate mentally, we begin to elevate. That elevation, the mental elevation, is shown by way of our actions and what we construct as a collective. Meaning, we construct temples, we construct everything that pertains to our culture, and it is what we construct becomes a reflection of our mindset and advancement. Because, as you said earlier on in class, everything that we have been taught up to this point, 2025 HJ hereafter, what from 6,000 years up to this point is moon cycle information. I say it like that to keep us information, keep us information. Now we need outformation, right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding to take us to the next level. And this is what the master is here to do, take us to the next level. So as you said earlier on, a person may have a university degree, have more letters than the alphabet after their name, but still be under the spell. Okay, the reason for that is because of what they've been taught. And if they do have their own secret societies, what they've been taught in their secret societies can only take them so far, unless they have a Wu-Sabat master teacher in their midst. Hear this now. You are fortunate because we got a Wu-Sabat, a master teacher in our midst, who's here to transform us, feminines and masculines, to be like him, become masters like him. Go back into the sun cycle thing. We talk about Jesus, what Jesus came to teach. He was born out of due time. What he came to teach, the people of his day and time weren't ready for that. Weren't ready for what he had to teach, because he was teaching Affirmation during the Piscean era, not during the moon cycle era, as opposed to during the sun cycle era. They weren't ready for that information or for that Affirmation. So now we're in a day and time whereby this is what the master teacher has given us for our liberation and salvation. Okay, to take us to the next level. Okay, so that's gonna. Any questions thus far in the house or on Clubhouse Zoom? You know how we don't like to. We're not preachers. We're not preachers. No questions thus far. Okay. You know, yeah. You know what I'm gonna read? I want to read something from
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Ramesses.
Yes, I got a question.
Go ahead, Samal.
If somebody wants to tie the knot in a Wu-Sabat way, how do they go about it?
Tie the knot.
Yeah, like want to get married in a Wu-Sabat way,
Oh, right, yeah.
tradition. How do they go about it?
All right, yeah. As far as I know, we haven't got that. That hasn't been instituted at present. It's one of them, like a marriage ceremony you're talking about.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't got that. Hasn't really been reinstituted at present. What we used them. I don't know if we do have. I'm not aware of any marriage ceremony of what to say. We may have some, but I'm not aware of any at present. Not to say there isn't any, but I'm not aware of any at present. They may have some, may have a marriage ceremony. Because we used to have one called a marriage ceremony book, but this was going back a few years back, or a good few years back, like a marriage ceremony book of what to say. And if you was to get married or someone was to get married, say if it was, you would get somebody to lead the way, be like the priest or the priestess. It would be the priestess, the feminine would perform the ceremony, because that's how we did it. The feminine would perform the ceremony. And I would say if someone's got the marriage ceremony scroll, would be to read that and upgrade that as it pertains to this day and time as a musbat, as a Sabian, and it still can be performed in that way. So that's what I would do anyway. But I'm not aware of any scroll or any writings or readings that the masters put out as it pertains to a marriage ceremony scroll, or tie the knot, as you say. So that's as far as I could take it.
Okay then. So would you say there are good Sabian, female teachers?
Say that again, sorry, Samal.
I've got a next question, yeah? Are
Go
they
ahead.
good? Are there good Sabian female teachers?
It's a good thing you said that, Samal, because the feminine teachers are more better in teaching the doctrine than masculines. The reason why we say that is because they were given the voice box first before males, before us. They were taught, the higher beings taught them how to speak first or articulate words, matatat, and the feminines are the one in turn who taught us how to speak. So feminines are, if you ever hear feminines teaching Wu-Sabat or reading the doctrine, it has a different resonance than us masculines. So they are very good in teaching Wu-Sabat.
I got a next question. What did you think of Dr. Wellesley?
Dr.
Wellesley, Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley.
All right, yes, she's another one of our feminine scientists, and they're very, very good. Dr. Cress Wilson, you have another one called Dr. Jules Pookrum. There are two that comes to mind, and they're very, very good. Yeah, very, very good. We should give acknowledgement to all our past. I don't know if she's still she's still here, but we should give acknowledgement to all our scientists and teachers of time past, not to about thousands, even those thousands, but those who are, even if they crossed over 20, 30 years ago. Master teacher mentions Sheikh Anton Diop and even Dr. Ben, etc., etc. They played a part in the grand scheme of things. So when we talk about Dr. Cress Wilson, yes, we should acknowledge them for what they came to teach, specifically for the diaspora. Yes, we acknowledge them all somehow.
Okay, Ashok.
Sure. We have a brother in the listening audience. Go ahead, Samal. Hope it's nothing hard though.
No, it's okay.
That's it. Go ahead.
So my question is,
if you go through the process of changing the mind,
Mm,
does that in turn have a physical effect on the body?
exactly. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, okay. Yes. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Want me to go a bit more?
You can. So in regards to that, to go deeper than that, if we raise our frequency mentally, would our body in turn's frequency be raised as well?
Yes, because all is mental and mental is all. We are mental first, physical second. Okay. So as your mental starts to increase, what you are doing is you're pulling from the mental reservoir more information. What you also happening is within your mind, within the okay. You are pulling in from the mental reservoir by way of what we call fatir damak ak, which is natural ether brain energy. That is how intelligence or our intelligence travels on the ether, but it's affecting your brain. So we call it brain ether energy. Brain ether energy. It comes into your brain, into your neurons by way of what's called synapses. Synapses, how into the neurons. How one brain neuron, how a neuron communicates to another neuron by way of what's called synapses. That's how one neuron connects to another, communicate to another by way of synapses. Now, the carrier is called brain ether energy. And that is what holds or carries our intelligence. The master's written a scroll called Natural Ether Energy. And because you asked the question, then I'll go read from the scroll. If you can get this scroll, based on the brother said, does mental have an effect on the body? This is the scroll that will answer all those questions that you have and unanswered questions that you may not even have. Okay. Let me read an excerpt from here. Right. I'll start from. See the bookmark up already. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read from page 3. I'm starting from verse 9. Okay, it's got here. And page 3, verse 9, natural ether energy reads, and inactive brain natural ether energy is in a state of Takshua condition between the science of something or somethingness, which is absolute matter, and the science of nothingness, which is absolute space. I'm trying to think of a way how to make this simple for you to understand. We have within our brain what we call natural ether energy. This natural ether energy is in an inactive state. It is, he says it here, it is in a state, an inactive state, or in a condition of nothingness and somethingness. And in order to be activated, it needs breathing will help activate those forces as well as thinking. I'm trying to, I'll continue reading. I'll try and make it as simple as I can. Okay, so brother wants to put it back.
On brain seed, that increases the level of The functionality, nutrients.
The brain soup.
Yeah, the brain soup.
Yeah.
Increase the functionality. Nutrients.
Yeah, the brain soup is natural ether energy. Okay,
So-
yeah.
So that increase that your soup, let's say, ether, you have to get from external forces. I'm saying like, in terms of the actual process of it.
Okay,
So therefore the process happens externally, which you call affirmation.
right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying like, if the affirmation is coming in, or we're on a biosphere, which is planet Earth,
Hmm.
with water, and predominantly big in water.
Right,
Oh,
right,
and that brain soup is made up of water, specific water in your brain.
right, yeah,
So that kind of
right.
not
I was speaking loud, other people could hear.
I was gonna say,
Let's respect it.
of the question
Right.
is to tie into the sun cycle.
Oh, okay, right.
So the understanding I have, if you're not prepared for that cycle, then you're basically going to be left behind. I think there was another class that actually explained the natural energies would if you're not in the right state physically and mentally, once the sun cycle fully kicks in, nature would identify you as a problem.
All right.
You understand? So that's where he explained, like, just like the body, if there's a substance that's not in tune with that, with your body will have a natural reaction.
That's right.
Which is where your antibodies will come in to get rid of the foreign or the substance that's not in tune with the body.
That's right. Right.
If that makes sense.
That makes
He
sense.
explained that kind of natural reaction and occurrence happens in nature as well, like tsunamis and things like that.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, put another way, as above, so below, as above. The macro has an effect on the micro has an effect on the macro. 100% right. So now, how the master teacher puts it, if we are living in the image and after the likeness of other than self and kind, nature, as far as nature is concerned, regardless of the color of your skin as a melanite, you're just a caucasoid in the black skin, and you be taken out. Okay, so in order for you to make that to survive, you need to have this right knowledge. Now, regardless whether you may see a person who's on do bad street, but they are the ones that need this right knowledge. Everybody needs this right knowledge, regardless of the color of their skin, because it is universal knowledge. Okay, more specifically for us as Nagara Nadu, as Negroids, is what we need to transform ourselves. Now, going back to the initial question, what the brother is talking about, the brain soup, is that the sun cycle that we're in has an effect on our minds and our thinking and our ability to receive and accept right knowledge. This is the day and time that we're in, and questioning what we have been taught, which is moon cycle information. Now, a person may not even be aware of the term right knowledge, may not even be aware of Dr. Malachi ZK or Wu-Sabat, but they are having experiences. Brothers have talked about that, and then we heard on YouTube, and brothers Ken, and people have experiences of this, people are having experiences of that. It's natural. It's natural. And what happens is the forces of nature or their ancestors, we say Moslafu or Munsabu relatives, are saying, will bring, say, you into the vicinity of another individual and talk to them about right knowledge, not knowing that they need to hear it. because there's something inside of you. There is your voice has something they need to hear. You have something that they need to hear to wake them up or take them to the next level. Bar no one. Everyone needs to hear this right knowledge because of the color of their skin. You see. So now, when we talk about the brain suit, the master says it needs to be heated up to a certain temperature in order for the, as you call it here, brain natural ether energy to be activated. Okay. So our brain rests in water, but that water that it rests in is called structured water. Now, when we are the water that we should be drinking to help nourish the brain and nourish the cells of the body is structured water, water such as you get in water-based fruits and vegetables. Because that structured water penetrates into the cells and activates the mitochondria within the cell, because the mitochondria is what gives the cell its vibrancy and energy. The water that we normally drink, even that one there, the water that we drink, don't bother touch tap water. The water that we drink is not structured. It doesn't go into the cell and hydrate the cells. However, drinking water is better than not drinking anything at all. So last class we said that what you should I was introduced to, I said it last class, I said that a brother out on the street introduced me to taking okra water, chop it up, put it in some water and get some lime, squeeze some lime with it, because lime and okra gels really well together, and goes guzzle that down. And after going on YouTube and there's another guy called Bobby Price on YouTube. I listened to him, and he said that water you get from okra is structured water. The okra, because it's like a gel type of consistency, the okra in it. That gel type consistency reconfigures the water and make it structured. So when you're drinking it, it hydrates the cells. And you see that your skin will start to glow even more. You find that you go to the toilet a lot because it's recalibrating the kidneys. It's cleaning out the kidneys. That's why you tend to go to the toilet a lot. Afterwards, things will subside. So what that now has an effect on the brain, because the brain uses up a lot of water. And because you're now nourishing the brain and you're nourishing the cell of the mitochondria, because of that, your thinking becomes clearer, becomes sharper, becomes faster. And that is also in conformity to the sun cycle, the sun out there, the sun in here, and the sun on the planet Earth. So you see how everything is entangled of what the physicists call quantum entanglement. You see, just like the different scrolls, everything is linked together. Okay. Do you have something else you wanted to say?
Thank you. You've actually connected other classes, and I think you can see like there's an order to it. Once you get through one class, and it leads you on to the next one. I was here last week.
Oh, well, no, God. Yeah.
So
I'm glad you spotted that.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, Samal. Yeah, you're 100% right, because we're on a journey. We're on a journey, and each class you're getting more. You're getting more, and you're getting more. Again, what we say is this: I do recommend getting this scroll because it will answer your question about the brain and etc., how the mind works and alignment. This is the scroll. And after you read that, you see, I think mark up already. You know what I mean? Right. So once you read that, then go on to this scroll, which will tie in neuroscience of Wu-Sabat. It talks about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means that we have the built-in capabilities to create new neurons. Okay. Before they said that once after a certain age, all your brain cells dies, and that's it, amen. But now scientists now are feeling no longer happens. We have the building capability to regrow new neurons. But in order for you to regrow new neurons, there's got to be a stimulation. And that stimulation is right knowledge. But here it is though. It's also the consciousness. That's also the consciousness. So now you realize that you become a co-creator of your own being. Or another word we use is, the science is called mental alchemy. Remember you used that last week, didn't it? You used that terminology there. Oh. Okay, so but this is the scroll that you would read. This is the scroll that would really help you in having an understanding how thought forms work on a scientific level. But the master is not using the terminologies that they use in a scientific community. I do recommend listening. There's a YouTube channel that I listen to a lot, which is called The Library of Thoth. Thoth. That's got on YouTube. Type in the Library of Thoth, and you will actually listen to them, different classes on there. And as you listen to that and you read the scrolls, it's not 100%, but it's enough to stimulate your mind, to take you to the next level, You're reading the scrolls, you'll see more. Your vision will start to expand. And as your vision expands, also say vision, your perception begins to expand. As your perception expands, your consciousness expands. As your consciousness or awareness expands, it has a direct correlation to your mental or to your mind and to your transformation. Okay, follow. So anybody else? Clubhouse, Zoom, any questions thus far? No questions. We go back to class again. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let's just that.
We're going to go back a little bit around me.
Oh, you missed.
You said, can you go back? You was reading something from the book, and why the there was a reason why I missed that.
Oh, right. The brother was reading from emotional energy. Is it emotional energy? Emotional energy. I think probably from emotional energy. Yeah. Okay. I think it was emotional energy. Right. Yeah. Good question. Good. Your antenna is on full tilt. Right. It's called emotional. The scroll is called emotional energy. I'm reading from page 10, verse 84, and it reads: "You must understand that Pa Kanim Chayu, Pa Tamahu, is the Caucasoid, only hates you because he knows these facts." You think that you want to know this right knowledge? No, they know this right knowledge. Like I said before, what we've been, all the scrolls the master's given us is coming from the Egyptian mystery system. This is what they were taught. They weren't taught about Anunnaki. They weren't taught about Anunnaki, but they were taught really about our own sciences. They weren't taught about Jesus and whoever. If they didn't if Jesus what the master teacher says? What Jesus says about religion is a waste of time. Because it don't mean nothing to him. He goes, I just had to give you religion and make it believable to myself so that you would believe it, because that's what you wanted. So I can give you what you wanted to be spooked out, so that you learn to what I have to give. Just this right knowledge. See? But what the master does is, so in that case, why does the master always use biblical quotes within the scrolls? It's because a vast number of our people, a vast percentage of our people are in religion. So he has to integrate right knowledge with misinformation and draw them out, or pull them into right knowledge, and see that we do not need a belief system. That's why we say in the class, the sun cycle, the death of belief is the birth of knowing. Because, like I said, go back to the sister I saw today in Croydon today, I said to her, she kept using the word belief, and I said, you are alive, correct? I said to her that I know you are alive because I can see, I can touch you, and I know that you have a mother, father, you have ancestors, etc., etc. Yeah, do you get me? And she goes, yeah. And I go, so, but we do not know for an actual fact, but that a guy called Jesus actually walked the planet Earth. And she said, "Me, well, but you've got to believe, right?" And I went back again to, but why? I said to her, now that I know that you exist, I don't need to believe, do I? She goes, that's true, because I don't exist. But you got no confirmation, no facts to prove that a guy by the name of Jesus actually walked the planet Earth. But she goes, yeah, but you got to believe. I said, well, so then I said, she goes, and I said to her, but how many gods though? Because yeah, we're little gods. Because well, I've got a blue letter Bible. Can you show me the blue letter Bible where it says that we are little gods? Because like I said, Exodus 7:1 says the Lord made Moses a god, and Jesus said, "Isn't written in your law that you're gods?" And so, but you cannot create yourself. But I couldn't really go into that. The thing is that two different women have stopped me today. The thing is that they that's it. One said deliverance, salvation, liberation, and transformation. That's the word she used: deliverance, salvation, liberation. But as only said liberation because I used the word liberation. She said salvation. So I said, what about liberation? And she goes, yeah, well, liberation, salvation, deliverance, and transformation are all one and the same. Because explain to me liberation, but she couldn't do it. However, I said to her, did you know that you're on the right path, but the context in what you're saying needs to be shifted? That's all it takes is a 1 degree shift, and you find out that the words, the terminology that she's using, liberation, salvation, deliverance, and transformation. That's right knowledge. But it's only that right knowledge is in the wrong context. But there comes a point. Do you know what something is that you have to, when you approach these people, you have to be comical about it in a sense that rather than, because if you're not right, I realized that if you're not comical when you talk to people on the street, they pull the shutters down and there's no entry. End off, they pull the closed sign and what about their business? Okay, so of course, you made me deviate. I blame you for this. Okay, so come back to the question. I haven't forgotten it early. 84. So you must understand that Partanim or Partamahu, that word for the caucasoids, only hates you because he knows these facts. They know right knowledge. They have right knowledge. 85. Translating full spectrum light, which says melanin, the physical manifestation of melanin, into our being by nature. Nadart and nadart. Where you must be put nadart, which is feminine. Said feminine forces. And partanim, chayu, caucasoids can't. They cannot translate full spectrum light because of the fact that they are melanin recessive. So the full spectrum light. So there is intelligence in full spectrum light, or we say triple state blackness. There's intelligence, we should say, within it. And we raise up, we clean ourselves up inside out, outside in, we perform what the master calls a self-exorcism. We're able to extract that out formation into information and relay to the general public. Okay, brother, say something. Go ahead.
You said mentioned self-exorcism. How long would a self-exorcism look like? Does it differentiate between different people, and how long would one kind of exercise that self, or is it a continuing journey?
Yeah. Self-exorcism is a terminology the master teacher uses to let us know that we have to clean ourselves inside out, outside in. So it's called, another term for that is introspection, looking at ourselves, looking and be truthful with ourselves, looking at the good aspects of our being, or the agreeable aspects of our being, and the disagreeable aspects of our being. Introspection is something that we should be doing on a daily basis. You do not need to, unless you want to, have a candle, say cross. It's our interactions with other people. When we spoke the other day, and I said that self-realization comes about through relationships, not through isolation. So I don't need to go. I know I heard one brother said, I'm going to Egypt to find myself. Well, yourself is right here. Guess what? You went to Egypt, never came back to the doctor after that. I think you must have got lost on the way. you know. So a self-exorcism is just that. It's introspection, cleaning up ourselves. Be really truthful with what we don't like, as opposed to what we do like. And how we interact with others, especially those, which button to press to make man vex and angry. So, Martin said that it's your loved ones or those are your family, they know which buttons to press. But it's a continual journey, introspection, or a spiral in and a spiral out at the same time. Okay, so here it is now. I've still not finished your question. It's this last verse here. Oh, damn, there's more than that. It's got here. The Tamahu, so we read that earlier on, that the Tamahu, they cannot access full spectral light like we can. 86, the Tamahu realizes that they must lie, cheat, steal, kill, and teach you to do these acts of isfat, which is chaos or disagreeableness, to lose your sahumat powers. What they do, we must do the same thing, so that we lose our connection to the divine and we cannot elevate. They let you know what they're about when you watch the movies. Just watch the movies and let you know what they're about. 87. To block your genetic powers, they teach theirs how to see our own powers against us. Could be how to use our own. I think it could be used. Let's see. I'll read that bit again. To block your genetic powers, that which is inherent within us. To block your genetic powers, they teach us how to use our own powers against us. Lie after lie, deception after deception, and false promise after false promise. Let's stop there. So, I'll go back to your question, Samalta. They know right knowledge. That's why they take the master away. And you know that information is a very valuable commodity. That's why there's certain places that they store data, and they've got heavy security that in the data storage places. There's one in Croydon as well. Heavy security. You got to press intercom system. Open one gate, you go through. Close that back gate. Open another gate. You have to wait for that back gate to close. To open that other back gate. You need to. What's your name? Who's the person you come to see? Data is a very valuable asset. You see, we take it for granted that it's not knowing that this is the. Do you know what the master teacher's given us? It's priceless. Can't put money on it. No amount of money can you put on what the master teacher's given us here. It is priceless. Because once you elevate your mind, anything and everything that you imagine to do, you'll be able to do. Okay? Hope that answers your questions, Amalta, about...
Yeah.
Okay, right. And Sister, you had a question? Oh, you had a question, bro? Okay. Any more questions? No more questions? Oh, okay then. Any questions on Clubhouse or Zoom? What the quality right sense on Clubhouse. He's right about being comical. In my experience, people seem to get caught up in my physicality. They look at you and think, because you look a certain way, you know, I don't know, people start maybe what's that word they use? Judgmental. All right. Yeah, birth of the death of belief is the birth of knowing. And because of this sun cycle, because of in what they call the age of Aquarius, religion is not going to last. The structures that we presently see, the world governments, etc., from on high, all the way from the top of the pyramid, all the way down, it's not going to last. Go ahead, Samantha.
How do we keep the children, or is there anything that we should do to keep our children as they grow to a certain level of understanding? So we were speaking just a minute ago about changing our mental, and that in turn changes our physical, and the doors have been locked over time. So as we've grown, more and more doors have been locked and we've been trapped mentally. So we are now going through a process where we are unlocking those doors and having those DNA explosions.
That's right.
How do we keep our children, or ensure that we are continuing to raise our children so that those doors do not get so locked for them as they grow in the world as it is today?
Yeah, it's the Master said it like this: more people gravitate to your example than anything else.
Mhm.
At the same time, so that's what they're looking for. They're looking for to see how you behave. They look at your example more than what you say. It's unfortunate. I have to say it like this first of all. It's unfortunate that we do not have our own educational construct to teach them Wu-Sabat. Like they have Muslim schools, and you have schools that predominantly for Hindus. They do have Hindu schools that they build as one end, big, massive flipping Hindu school. Damn, these all about bricks that you use to build the building. You know, they're not talking about inside. They're too big. I mean, there's no law written that you cannot have your own educational program.
Yeah.
You see, what we do, we teach our children right knowledge, and it starts from the home. Be the best example and best parent that you can be. Sometimes you have to hold the reins. The times you have to hold the reins tight, sometimes you have to let it loose, so they give them room to grow, because they have to have their own experiences in life. If we hold the reins too tight, we can be a hindrance to their growth. There's certain experiences that our children need to experience, so which is natural. However, never give up on your children. Teach them right knowledge. There are times when you have to be stern and times when you have to be loving and caring. We use the word ashok, divine love. Divine love can also mean being stern, because as a means of them not getting out of order. They need their own, they need to experience certain things. There's a story, the master teacher called the caterpillar and the Nawapian, or the butterfly and the Nawapian. And in that story, the master relays how this Nawapian's walking down the road and he saw this caterpillar, or the caterpillar transforming into a butterfly coming out of the cocoon. And what he done is he saw the caterpillar or the butterfly struggling, and he cracked open the chrysalis, or what it is, but in doing so, he made that butterfly cripple. It couldn't fly. Struggle or challenge is a necessary part of our growth and expansion, and also our experience. So as a parent and your child, it is hard, and there are times where you have to be kind, caring, and loving, and there are times you have to be stern as well. So that, but one thing they can never say is, I wish you told me. What they can say is, I wish I'd listened. That's all, because the master teacher, he's the master teacher, as Dr. Malika Ezekiel, he's got children that went astray, and he's the master teacher. So what makes us any different? You know what I mean? So remember, he's a human being as well. Feelings, emotions, etc., etc. So he had to go through trials and tribulations like we do, losses of children, just like we have to. You see. But what we would say is, be the best individual that you can be to your children. Teach them right knowledge. Teach them the ways. At the same time, they've got to experience for themselves. But show divine love. Again, love means knowing when and how to exercise discipline as and when necessary. Okay?
Yeah.
So, fam, the landlords has been giving me the time outside because they want to pull the shutters down. That was the last orders. Let me quickly read one thing here. The quality reads, HE is, I think that the master teacher, saved my life. What do you think of the spouses who didn't stop their mate from teaching Baba's work to their children, but don't accept the teaching of our Melanites? What do you think about the spouses who didn't stop their mate from teaching Baba's work to their children, but don't accept the teachings of our Melanites, of our black people? You know something? Let's say you got a partner and they don't really mind other partner teaching Wu-Sabat to their children. You know something? That could only be a good thing. That could only be a good thing. Even though the partner may not accept Wu-Sabat, but let's say you got a male and a female, the male doesn't accept Wu-Sabat, but doesn't mind the female teaching the kids Wu-Sabat. That can only be a good thing, because now the feminine parent is instilling right knowledge into the hearts and minds of the children. So they will come up, they'll be raised up with a certain mindset, a mind frame, and do certain things according to Wu-Sabat. So that can only be a good thing, There are many. You had questions? Oh, okay. There are many people who came into Wu-Sabat years ago, and they left, and the children are doing very well. But both parents are not in Wu-Sabat, and the children are not in Wu-Sabat, but they're doing very well outside. Is what it is, isn't it? With that, are we meant to break a general? One more last question from the quality. Are we meant to break a generational curse? 100%, because that is what curse what we should do, we have to reverse the curse. Let's put it like that. Reverse the curse with right knowledge. That's it. So we do not perpetuate the same program. With that, fam, on Clubhouse, on Zoom, and those of us on those of us on YouTube Live. I say once again, thank you all for attending this class. Same time, same place next week.
Yes.
Until the next time, Moisa, Akros, give and take care. Wadu.
What do I show?
Ashok,
Wadu.
Moisa.
Jamal. Asher, glad you.